All right, with the third fight on the main card, we've got UFC debutant Payton Talbott facing Nick Aguirre.
Aguirre.
I know I mispronounced that. Aguirre. In his second UFC fight, second UFC fight after losing on debut to Dan Argueta, who close fight in that fight, but should be an interesting one in this affair. But I'll go ahead and jump to the odds. Talbot, a minus 900 favorite, open minus 550. People have just continued to jump on the fighter who is now 6-0, coming off a Dana White's Contender Series. Dana White's Contender Series win, but the 25-year-old has a lot to learn. While he is a world-class striker, and he is that rare combination of power plus volume that really just strikes fear into all opponents, he does not have any takedown defense at all, and has had to overcome adversity in multiple fights because he's just been taken down and held down for a lot of the rounds. So while he is unbelievably dangerous and will be against Nick in this fight, that caveat just always lingers in the back of my head for a minus 900 favorite. That makes me question it a little bit. And what's interesting to me is that not only is Nick a southpaw, which could make it it could add a little bit more time for Talbot to be able to ingest and download the different differences between stances. But it's the great takedowns. I mean, Aguirre is a BJJ blue belt, and he's often in competitions. Like, he is just continually competing. He's a wrestler by trade in high school and college. And so while he's got a poor level of competition throughout his UFC career, I really think that he's going to be able and will just go straight for takedowns in this fight. He knows that if he stands, he's probably going to get his head knocked off. And so he should pretty quickly go right to the takedowns. Whether he can keep him there, whether he can notch his first takedown or two is going to be the difference in this fight. If he can't get that takedown, this fight's as good as over. And that's why the odds are where they are. But I don't know if they should be that steep. And Andy, I'd love to hear what you've got on this fight because it's a weird one.
Yeah, Talbot has come in with all of this hype from the MMA community, and he came into that Contender Series fight. And to me, like, I remember watching that one. Everyone was like, you have to see Payton Talbot. I hadn't seen him before. And it just was underwhelming to me. Like, he was just like, he was trying stupid shit. Like, the sense of urgency wasn't really there for Contender Series, in my opinion. And he got his first decision win as a result. And it was week one of Dana White Contender Series. So I was expecting Dana White to walk out and be like Joe Pyfer 2.0. But he didn't. He was like, no, it's Payton Talbot. I have to sign him after Dana allegedly doesn't know anything about the guys that come into Contender Series. Okay. So people love comparing this guy to Sean O'Malley as well. And it shows. He doesn't check the leg kicks, and he sometimes leaves his head open and exposed. So the striking, I mean, it's his bread and butter. So that also is the Sean O'Malley comp. I'm giving him a hard time here. I said it in our preview earlier. I'm going to say it again. This is another fight where I'm going to tend to lean on the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy against the striker. I feel like Nick Aguirre's game, he's got that blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He does a ton of BJJ tournaments, which you can see all over his socials. And that's going to translate really well for him in MMA. It always has, and it's going to continue to do that way. I totally agree. Like, the level of competition is very different, but has Payton Talbot gone up against somebody who is such a specialist at BJJ where he's going to struggle potentially? That's how I see it. Aguirre is moving down to bantamweight for this bout. He's been fighting at featherweight before that. It's just, everything is so good where I feel like if he can get Talbot down, he should be able to go to work, get his. And I love the edge that he has over Talbot because it's not reflected whatsoever in the betting odds. I mean, you said it, like, I'm seeing minus 800, like you're seeing minus 900 on Talbot. Talbot should not be this big of a favorite. I get that he is a very hyped up prospect. I understand. And like, there's plenty of great reasons why. But when you're on your UFC debut and you're going up against somebody who also was a highly touted prospect before taking that Argueta fight on short notice, lost, which I'm not going to blame him for. Argueta's great on the mat as well. Like, I think I took Aguirre in that fight. That fight was in January. I'm pretty sure I took Aguirre. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to take Nick Aguirre on the money line at plus 575 on DraftKings. Let me make sure that's still, yeah, plus 575 on DraftKings for a quarter of a unit. And I think you took it a step further, Rick. What do you have?
I've got Aguirre by decision at plus 1,200 for a quarter unit myself. I think that
It's
if he ends
electric.
up just getting on top and holding him there, I think that we could see another fight that goes to decision, sort of like how Payton Talbott's Dana White's Contender Series fight win against Reyes Cortez. So I think over the past year, he's been training with more and more world-class strikers. So I think Yair Rodriguez is in his camp. Ignacio Bahamondes, who we mentioned earlier, long, rangy strikers, similar to Talbot. And so he's had time with these guys to try and level up his skills, and he's had a year between fights to really make those improvements. So I'm eager to see whether or not he levels up in the striking, because he keeps saying that he's getting better and has confidence in it. I pray that he does not have too much confidence in it, because he will get knocked out. But if he's able just to quickly be able to feint, get to the ground, get it to the ground, I think that we could see some improvements there. And I think we could, over the course of 3 rounds, see him get a decision. So I've got Aguirre by decision at plus 1,200 for a quarter unit, and he's got him straight up plus 600. Is that right?
I got him at plus 575 on DraftKings, also for a quarter unit. And just real quick on Talbot, like one last thing. When you're struggling against a guy who's getting a second opportunity on Dana White Contender Series, his sister is Tracy Cortez, who is a great female mixed martial artist. Like, that just tells me you're not necessarily ready. So if he's made a lot of market improvements to his takedown defense and all that, go ahead. Like, more power to you, Talbot. But the odds should not be skewed this way. So I'm glad that we're taking a stand against the odds here, grabbing the value. Coming up next, we've got my favorite fight of the night, Jordan Leavitt taking on Chase Hooper. You will not want to miss our analysis on this one. Stay tuned.